Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Buenaventura Ramos Jr., although most people call me Dr. Bill. For today, I'll talk about mindfulness in medicine. My practice is actually medical oncology, but I also train in mind-body medicine. That's why today I'll talk to you about mindfulness. So before we go into the mindfulness topic, first I'd like to talk why we need mindfulness in medicine, not just for patients but for doctors. Medscape actually reports every year the National Physician Burnout, Depression, and Suicide Report because obviously a lot of our doctors are stressed. So they even classify it into different specialties. These are some of the words from our doctors. A neurologist said, "I dread coming to work. I find myself being short when dealing with staff and patients." So how do physicians cope with the burnout? There are good ways of coping like exercise or even sleep or seeking support from peers. But there are also not so healthy ways of coping like drinking alcohol, binging out, eating junk food, or even drugs. That's why even doctors need help too. So first, let's define stress. Stress is actually just a response. It's actually not from outside, it's our response to the situation. So, and the opposite of the fight and flight response is relaxation. Let's first establish the idea of the mind-body connection. If I ask you to imagine a lemon, you slice a lemon and then you squeeze the lemon on your tongue. What happens? You salivate, but there is no lemon. You just thought about the lemon. So that establishes that the mind actually is connected to the body. The body will respond the same way as if there's a lemon or you're just imagining the lemon. That's what happens if we have stressful thoughts. Those are just thoughts, but they produce the stress response in the body because the body cannot determine whether it's reality or just thoughts. The body will respond the same way. If I ask you to imagine the last joyful birthday party that you attended, what comes to mind? Maybe the cake, the food. Did you like the food? The friends, kids, laughter. Now, if I ask you to imagine the last funeral of a loved one, the most recent death of a loved one, what comes to mind? Can you imagine the dead body? Can you imagine the relatives who are there? I asked you to put focus on two different situations. And I know that you can notice the change in your body. Initially, on the first situation, you may have a smile. You may have felt the joyful feeling inside, the lightness of the situation. But on the second situation, suddenly there's a change on the vibe. It even produced a change on the tone of my voice. So throughout our day, we focus on a lot of things. And depending on what we focus on, will be our experience of that day. Metaphors about the mind and the thoughts. The mind is like the sky. Our thoughts are like the clouds. They pass through the sky. And throughout the day, there are lots of thoughts, different thoughts passing through our mind. The more stable actually is the mind, more than the thoughts. The lake is another metaphor, ruffled on the surface, but deep down, it's silent. it's quiet. The wheel is another metaphor, like the spokes of a wheel, our thoughts, our emotions. But in the middle, in the center, it's stable. That's the mind. And we all have that mind, the stillness inside. How do we access the stillness inside that we all have? Okay, later we'll go through those things. Here, modern day stress has nothing to do with the circumstances, but in a reaction to the circumstances. Okay, it's not about the rude driver. It's not about the traffic. It's our reaction to the traffic. It's our perception of the traffic. So our experience of the world is an internally created phenomenon. It's all an inside job. Who controls our thoughts? Nobody else. We choose our thoughts. When we choose our thoughts, we also should take the responsibility for our emotions, because our feelings follow depending on our thoughts. They said, for every feeling, for every emotion, there's a sponsoring thought behind it. So if we're not feeling good, the only way to change that is to change the sponsoring thought. Okay? Instead of thinking of the things that you don't want, think of the things that you want. Usually it's just the opposite. For our patients, I'll give a cancer patient because that's my line of specialty. A lot of our patients are anxious with the results of the tests. Without even seeing the results yet, it produces a lot of anxiety. A lot of their thoughts would be about the things that they fear, about the things that they don't want. They're thinking, my CT scan would show metastasis, my mammogram would show a mass, things like that. And those thoughts produce certain unpleasant emotions. So the only way to change the emotions is to change the thought. Just change the thought. My mammogram would be normal. My CT scan would be normal. Because you're just thinking. It's not even real. You're just thinking about the result. And it produces that emotion. It changes your experience for that moment. So you are responsible for your experience, nobody else. It's not about the CT scan. It's not about the doctor doing the request on a certain day. It's not even about your cancer. It's about your thoughts producing a certain emotion, and that emotion producing your experience for that moment. So what's mindfulness? Mindfulness, according to a pioneer in the mindfulness movement, Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, he said, mindfulness means paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experience moment to moment. It's just about the present moment experience. So according to Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, mindfulness is the capacity to be aware of what is going on and what is there. The object of your mindfulness can be anything. Okay, so it's all about your present moment experience. And present moment experience is really just this moment. From this moment to the next moment. When I introduce myself, that's the past. The moment I will end this talk is about the future. So it's just about this moment when I'm seeing the word moment. Okay, and then the next moment. So it's all about the present moment experience. And you can put a focus on a lot of things on your present moment experience. Just think of all your five senses. So it's about the things that you see at this moment, the things that you hear at this moment, the things that you're feeling at this moment. You're feeling warm, you feel the coolness of the aircon, you feel the weight of your body on the chair. Those are still part of your present moment experience. You experience some itch here, some pain here, some heaviness on the head. Those are part of your present moment experience. And just notice them non-judgmentally. Because when you resist your present moment experience, when you judge first, you judge the moment as this is not supposed to be the temperature of the room. It's supposed to be warmer. It's supposed to be colder. So you're actually producing resistance to your present moment experience. So you're judging your present moment experience. And that produces a lot of stress. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, defined mindfulness as mindfulness is the capacity to be aware of what is going on and what is there. And he said that the object of your mindfulness can be anything. So when we ask you to focus on the present moment, whatever is there in your present moment experience can be a focus of your mindfulness experience. Looking at the table can be a mindfulness practice. Looking at the camera can be a mindfulness practice. Later, let's go into detail on that when we talk about mindfulness in daily living. In the past years, there's actually an explosion of movement about mindfulness, about meditation, about the studies of the mind. Because people are realizing, and then doctors also are realizing, that a person is not just a body. The medical education and training actually focus so much on the body, as if the person is just a body. But, we now realize that a person is not just a body. A person has mind, body, and spirit. And all those three aspects of the person should be healthy for a person to be whole. The word health actually came from an old English word which means whole. And the whole person is not just a body. A whole person is a mind, body, and spirit. A whole person has mind, body, and spirit. And all those three aspects of a person should be taken care of for your medicine to be holistic. People will ask, so how can we go back to the present moment? How can we just focus on the present moment? It's not hard, especially if you're anxious, if there are lots of challenges, if there are lots of problems, or things that we identify as problems, call as problems, or label as problems. So there's what we call portals to the present moment. One is nature. So if you're troubled, going out to nature can actually help. Imagine you're in Boracay, in a beach with the sunset. Can you actually be there and just enjoy the sunset and still think of your problems or your loans to be paid and all those things? It's not easy to think of the problems when you're facing nature, facing a beautiful sunset. So those can actually be portals to the present moment. Those things can actually bring you back to the present moment. So go out to nature. Actually, even in the city, there are always places of nature that you can see. There are always plants here. There are always stray dogs here. Because nature, they said, nature is in a process of eternal surrender. Can you actually see a tree that's stressed? No, it's just there, eternally in surrender to whatever happens, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, it's just there. So you can actually imbibe the energy of nature being in surrender. No resistance, that's the opposite of surrender. Sound can actually be a portal. That's why there's such a thing as music therapy. If you are listening to music, if you're listening to a tune, you're actually present. You'll be forced to be present. When you're listening to the tune, you're listening to the tune now. And you're flowing with the tune or with the music moment by moment. When you're listening to the chorus, you cannot just go back to the intro. Okay? You're flowing with the music moment to moment. So you are actually being present when you listen. Of course, in music therapy, we sometimes recommend the one with less words or instrumental, because sometimes the words can actually bring you back to a lot of thinking again. So that sound can be a portal. Breath can be a portal. When you focus on your breath, that's why later we'll do a little mindfulness meditation practice. That's when we focus on your breath, you're actually being present. Try to do just 3 conscious breaths. Conscious breath means you know that you're breathing, you know that you are doing the in-breath, you know that you're doing the out-breath, and you're just doing the breathing, nothing else. Okay. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more. Inhale. Exhale. So, while we are doing the breathing, we're actually being present. And what happened during that time? They said a miracle happened. Why? We stopped thinking. We're just breathing. We weren't thinking of the bills to pay. We weren't thinking of whether we'll able to get a cab later. So we're just breathing. So we actually rested. We have rested our mind because we stopped thinking. And what's good with breath is you always have it. There's no excuse. You can always breathe wherever you are. So I usually make a joke. If your break is just a toilet break, as you sitting in the toilet bowl, you can always breathe. Inhale, exhale, okay? And then you'll be relaxed. Why will you be relaxed? Aside from a lot of our stress are actually from our thoughts. So when we stop thinking, we are actually be relaxed. We actually stimulate. When you do deep breathing, we actually stimulate a nerve that's linked to the diaphragm. The diaphragm is the muscle here that separates the lungs from the tummy. We stimulate our vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the nerve for relaxation. So automatically, we will just relax. That's why when we sigh, okay, we can instantly feel something changing. Instant relaxation of all our muscles. Imagine if you're doing the sighing, the deep breathing for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then you'll be totally relaxed. So that's one portal that you can log in to that stillness inside. Another one is movement or activity. That's why yoga is a form of meditation. Because when you're doing yoga, when you're doing a pose, when you're doing a certain pose, you need to focus on doing the pose, otherwise you'll fall. Like Tai Chi, when you're doing Tai Chi, you need to really focus, otherwise you will forget. Because in Tai Chi, you need to do this, and after that you need to do this, after that you need to do this. You need to do certain movements, one after the other. So if you're doing the activity, if you're doing the movement, you'll actually be focusing on the present moment. It's a mindfulness practice. That's why dancing can also be a mindfulness practice, or exercise can be a mindfulness practice. If you're lifting some weights, you have to focus that you're really lifting the weight. Otherwise, you'll be out of balance. If you're dancing, either group or alone, you need to focus on the dance and the music. That's why there's also a dancing, we call it dancing meditation, because afterwards, you'll be relaxed, joyful, whatever you want to channel as you're doing the activity. The present moment experience includes all these things: your thoughts, your feelings, and your bodily sensations. So past, present, and future. If we identify our stressful thoughts, a lot, if not all, of our stressful thoughts are not actually about the present moment. They said if you focus on the present moment, you cannot identify a problem of the present moment, because we're always provided in the present moment. That's why our prayer is, give us today our daily bread, just today, just for today. Jesus didn't really ask us to pray like, give us the budget for the month, give us the budget for the week. No, it says, give us today our daily bread, because we're always provided for just for this moment. The thoughts about the past can be stressful because it can be about regrets. If the thoughts are about the future, it will be about fears and worries about the future. What will be the result of my CT scan? Will I have a recurrence? I mean, for cancer patients. For doctors, what will be the fears? Will my patient pay me? Or a lot of those things. Now they said when you think about the future, the nearest future, you can find some fears or worries or problems. The more you go into the future, the more you can find problems. When you focus on the present moment, all of those things evaporate. Doing things mindfully allows you to be in the here and now at all times, which means that you'll be living deeply every moment of your daily life. To be aware is to be alive. We should not miss out on our life. A spiritual author, Marianne Williamson, she was told by a friend that her young daughter actually told that friend that she misses her mom even though she's there. So it doesn't mean that we're physically present, then we're really present. If we're not there mindfully, or we're not present that doesn't count. You're still missing out on life. You're still missing out on your kids. You're still missing out on your friends. You are not alive. That's why I said to be aware, to be alive. Like imagine being with a friend or with somebody who is obviously not there, obviously not listening to what you're talking about. It doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good. You know that that friend is not present. So you're like talking to a zombie. So it's not the friend is not alive. So we should take note of that and improve our relationships by being present wherever we're with friends or with family. The most famous distraction in the modern world, cell phone. Okay, I'm not against cell phones. You know, technology, it has a lot of advantages. It helps us in a lot of things, but don't let technology rule your life. Okay, use it to your advantage. Don't let it rule your life. Just like our thoughts. Use your thoughts. Don't let our thoughts use you. During dinner time, maybe put off the cell phone. Keep it in silent mode. Not even vibrate, because you can still hear the vibration from afar. So that you can focus on what you're doing. You can focus on what you're eating. You can focus on eating. Because there's such thing also as mindful eating. Okay? When I say when you eat mindfully, know the taste of the food, know the smell of the food, know the how the food looks like. It can even help in weight maintenance or weight management. Imagine not eating mindfully at a movie house. You have a big bucket of popcorn and then you're watching a movie, and that's not mindful eating. And I'm sure you can finish that as you're doing through the movie, but try eating that big bowl of popcorn and you're just eating. You're not doing anything else. You cannot finish that. So when you're doing mindfully, actually, we're also mindful about the food. Okay, now I'm full, now I'll stop. Kingdom of God. Thich Nhat Hanh again, the Vietnamese Buddhist monk, he said, imagine you're transported to the kingdom of God. What would you do when you're there? Will you run like we do most of the time or all of the time? Or will you walk slowly and enjoy the kingdom of God? Then he ended by saying, the kingdom of God is nowhere else but here, in the present moment. So let's enjoy the present moment, because this is the kingdom of God. Here is another verse actually from the Bible. It's a long verse, okay? But I just want to show you this because a lot of times when we hear verses from the religious texts, they would seem like authority. That's a long verse, but it ended by saying, so do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will bring worries of its own. Today's trouble is enough for today. So it is said that we are given resources, we are given energy in 24-hour allocation. Okay, that's for you today. If we use our resources, if we use our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, energy, by focusing on the past or the future, you'll be deficit for today. You'll be deficit for today. So you'll end up lacking energy. Again, from the Bible, come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while. In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. So what's the opposite of mindfulness? Okay, it's forgetfulness or mindlessness. Our common excuse would be senior moment. Okay, but actually it's just mindlessness. We're just not mindful. This can be a common scenario. Imagine going out of your house. So you're going out of the house, and usually when you go out of the house, you go out and then you lock the door. But imagine as you were going out, you got a call. Then you received the call. So you were answering the phone as you're going out of the house. And then you reach your car, and then you ended the call. Then what happens? You would be worried if you actually locked the door because you weren't mindful. So it's not about forgetfulness. You weren't just mindful. And then when you go back to check if you locked the door, it's actually locked. But you didn't remember locking the door because you were not mindful as you were doing it. So what happened? Our subconscious mind or unconscious mind actually took over and did the routine of locking the door, although it's not mindfully done. That is called automatic pilot. People who drive, we all have a routine. We pass from here and then pass here, we pass through the flyover and then this street and then that street until we reach our destination, our work. Okay, so that's the routine. And when we're just new in driving also, we're so mindful. We focus on this. You hold the steering wheel, press the clutch and press the brake and all those things. So we're so focused on every step that we should do as we drive. But once we're used to it, example, you are thinking about something as you drive, subconscious mind will actually take over. So you will still drive. You will still drive. If you're talking to somebody, you will still drive. Sometimes you'll still hold the clutch and then do this and brake because it's automatic pilot. Okay, so our subconscious mind will actually take over. That's why if we're doing some routine, but then there's a break in our routine. Some example, for this day, you need to drop by a certain store to buy something, and that's your plan. But when you're not mindful as you are driving, you actually miss that spot. Okay, you still go through the routine if you're not mindful because your subconscious mind is actually taking over. So we can actually go through life not being mindful and miss out on life because we're so focused on our thinking, a lot of thinking. So we miss life, we miss what's happening. That's the same way as we don't even remember what happened to the traffic, and then the next thing we know, we're already in the office. So we miss life, we miss out on life. So mindfulness is actually a form of self-care. Our stress of thoughts produces a lot of stress on our body, and stress can produce a lot of dysfunctions and diseases. So it's actually a form of self-care when we focus on mindfulness. And then self-compassion and self-love. This is what I talked about earlier, being with others and being not mindful. When we feel presence in others, we feel the spaciousness of our being received by them. So, and when we reside in presence in ourselves, others, and indeed the whole world are welcome into our being. That's by Daniel Siegel, MD. So mindfulness meditation. We'll do a little mindfulness meditation in a while, but let me tell you about mindfulness in daily living or mindful awareness practices. We can actually practice mindfulness in our daily living. Example, I told you about the mindful eating. Example, when we shower, we can actually do that as a mindfulness practice. When we shower, a lot of us, sometimes we ask jokingly, who do you shower with? Why? Because a lot of times in the shower, we're not thinking about the shower. We're not thinking about getting a shower. We're thinking about the office. We're thinking about boss. We're thinking about this. We're thinking about that. We're thinking about our patients. We're thinking about our case. So a lot of times after shower, you're done with your things to do list. So we can actually use the shower as a mindfulness practice. For example, feeling the feel of water on your head, on your body, smelling the scent of your shampoo, and then feeling the soap on your body. That's actually a mindfulness practice. So you can do that as a way of mindfulness practice. The mindfulness in daily living. Brushing the teeth can also be a mindfulness practice. Washing the dishes can actually be a mindfulness practice. That's why people say, cooking is so therapeutic or gardening is so therapeutic because as you cook, you are forced to be mindful. Okay, otherwise you'll cut your finger. Those things that we do in daily living can actually be a form of mindfulness practice. Whether we focus on cooking, whether we focus on gardening, whether we focus on listening to your wife as she's sharing about her day, you're actually trying to improve your concentration. So that's how we develop the habit of concentration. So once we improve that concentration, there's a certain part of the brain, we don't need to say which part. Anyway, it's a prefrontal cortex that gets developed. Once we enhance that part of the brain, it actually improves our focus, our concentration. It also limits our reactivity, so we don't react right away to certain situations like in traffic and in the line at the grocery. It produces less reactivity when that part of the brain is actually healthier. When we do meditation, when we do mindfulness practice, we're actually making that part of the brain healthy. So it's like doing the gym for your body, and mindfulness practice and mindfulness meditation is like working out for the brain or for the mind. Okay, brain, because it actually produces physical changes on the brain itself. So what are the benefits of mindfulness? Stress reduction. It improves your memory. That's why I said earlier, sometimes it's not about bad memory, it's just about being mindless. So improves your focus and improves our relationship, just like the example that I said earlier, and a lot of other things. Eckhart Tolle is the author of the book The Power of Now. He said, be present as the watcher of your mind, of your thoughts and emotions, as well as your reactions in various situations. Be at least interested in your reactions, as in the situation or the person that causes you to react. So in certain situations that we regard as stressful or it induces a lot of our anxiety, focus on yourself. Focus on your reaction, focus on your thoughts, on your judgment about the situation, not outside. That's why if you're aware or familiar with the serenity prayer, it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, to accept the things I cannot change. What are the things that we cannot change? We cannot change the situation. We cannot change other people. We cannot change the behavior of your secretary. We cannot change the attitude of your kids. The courage to change the things I can always change myself. I can always change my reaction to the secretary. I can always change my reaction to the traffic. I can always choose certain thoughts about my perception of my kids. Okay? Those are the things that we can change. And that produces serenity. The brain that you create now is always some form of non-acceptance or unconscious resistance. Like a warm lecture room and a warm sauna can actually have the same temperatures, but you will have a different experience in the sauna than in the lecture room. Okay? Let's meditate. It's a very quick one, and then you can always just extend. I'll just give you an example or a technique on how to do it. So the formal mindfulness meditation, we usually ask the patients or whoever to sit, to find a comfortable position. Usually a comfortable position will be sitting, and then your back should be supported. Your hands will be on your lap. Usually I would ask, close your eyes. Okay, I usually when I lead the meditation, I also close my eyes. So when we close our eyes, we focus our attention on the inside, focus within, and limit the distraction from the outside. Then focus your attention on your breathing. As you breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. In through your nose, out through your mouth. That's a relaxing way of breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. When we're relaxed, our breathing actually naturally deepens. Focus on your breathing in, out. Inhale, exhale. If there are thoughts, like naturally there will be thoughts, just acknowledge the thought, let it be, and let it go. And focus your attention back on your breathing. In, out, in, out. Now thank yourself for taking time in doing this breathing meditation and giving yourself a chance to relax and re-energize. And when you're ready, open your eyes and go back to the room. So that's a sample of how we do mindfulness meditation. So it really depends. The recommendation is actually 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night, so twice a day. Usually I can do it just once in a day. I usually do it in the morning before doing everything else. So I usually, when I wake up, I usually shower, and before even checking my phone, I would find a seat. And I would go to my meditation room and then sit and then just meditate. Okay? Just focus on your breathing and that's it. In our workshops, we actually extend that to a longer time, and sometimes we incorporate some relaxation techniques and then some imagery and visualization. But the basic mindfulness meditation is just that, just being mindful of your breathing, mindful of your breathing. I know doctors are busy and even patients are busy, but I usually advise my patients to do that. If you cannot do the 5 minute, then just start with 1 minute. You can count actually just 10 mindful breaths, and then that's it. Before you go out, before you go down your car, or sometimes people even say when the traffic light is stopped, okay, you can close your eyes. Anyway, if it's go, then you will just hear a honking at the back. Then let's take that as a chance to meditate. So that's how we do the formal meditation practice. Viktor Frankl said, this is actually a doctor who went through Nazi camp. Okay, between stimulus and response, there's a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Okay, so that's by Viktor Frankl. So we can actually choose our response. Before acting out on our anger, we can just stop, breathe, and realize that we have options of not reacting or not getting angry, choosing the peaceful approach. My final words. The past is gone, and there's nothing we can do about it. The only way to change the past is through forgiveness. So let the past go with forgiveness. And the future is not yet here. So let the future go without anticipation. No fears, no worries. What we have is this moment. The only thing that's real is now. And this moment is a gift. So let's be grateful for this gift and live it fully by being aware, being present. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. And to the physicians, physician, heal thyself. Thank you.